that will tell you how to access your awards, and congratulations. Now I'm excited to introduce our next speaker for today, Brooke Rabold. Now, Brooke has been in the event industry for over 10 years. She started at a staffing firm and then has gone on to hold huge conferences, corporate events, and large-scale events as CEO of Bar Event Group. Now, she looks for features that bring innovation to all aspects of her events, and I'm so excited to have her here today. Brooke, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you. I'm excited to have our little Q&A session today.
I'm excited as well. Ready?
All right. Let's jump right into it. Now, your first question is, what were the greatest challenges you faced when transitioning from in-person to hybrid events?
Well, one of the things that I think was the most difficult was finding a platform that did both live streaming and ticketing. You know, a lot of companies out there do the ticketing platform. A lot of companies do the live streaming aspect, but very rarely do you have a company like Event Titans that does both the live streaming and the ticketing. So I think finding a company that was willing and able to work around those complexities and kind of grow with our events as we were making that transition was key.
Yes, of course. That's definitely a huge component, is having a platform that is able to do both for you, so you don't have to outsource to different platforms, of course. Now, what advice would you give to an event organizer interested in developing a hybrid event?
I think knowing your audience is essential. I think most event planners already know the audience, know who's attending. I believe in a market evaluation, especially now. You know, we're in such different times where virtual and in-person are colliding together. Obviously, that's why we're having this discussion. And if you don't know who wants to be attending virtually, who wants to be attending in person, you know, you kind of set yourself up for failure. So I think planning for that, doing your market evaluations, and preparing to see it is essential. I think that if you're going to make that transition, your at-home attendees, knowing who they are is more important than your in-person. Because if you don't know who they are, you don't even know if they're going to attend. So that's kind of your key factor there.
Definitely. I think it's key remembering that these are two different experiences, and you need to account that the people at home are going to be having a different experience than the in-person, how you can kind of cater to the different needs and expectations. So of course.
Exactly.
Yes. And then another question, how do you keep your virtual attendees engaged in a hybrid event?
I believe in ambiguity. I know some event planners sometimes hate it, and that's fine, but I find that I've been successful with it. And that's kind of why I took a company from point A to point Z, you know, rather quickly, even in the world that we're in now, which most event planners are struggling. I was able to find success. Regardless of what you say, people can say they hate surprises, but deep down they do love a good surprise. And not knowing some of those elements of a reward system or a giveaway, or that, oh my God, did you know that blah, blah, blah is coming up to speak in 5 minutes? That was a complete surprise to us. Having those for your virtual attendees can kind of make or break, in a sense, how long they're staying on with you, right? Because with a virtual event, you know, they're easily able to walk away and start vacuuming the house, or, you know, get distracted. But if you have these big surprises where, like, hey, you don't know what's coming up next, but I promise you're going to want to be on, they're going to make sure that the kids are quiet, that, you know, their husband or wife has whatever handled in the house that they need. And I think that surprise element is key. It's almost like the Wizard of Oz effect. You don't know what's behind the curtain until the curtain is revealed. And people go for that. They do. And it's been proven, whether or not you like it or not, it does work. And I feel like you guys do a great job at rewarding people for engaging, you know, with the booths, which made it great for us personally when we did the events with you guys, because we were able to keep people connected. Because even if you didn't like the speaker that was talking in that moment, you could go to the booth, know that you're getting rewarded for that, and that there's a prize at the end of the tunnel for engaging. So I think that helps a lot, having that engagement outside of the speakers to keep you on the platform or to keep you connected to the conference.
Yeah, and that was really interesting. We talked about that ambiguity factor. That's some advice that you don't hear much about. And I do think that's cool. You kind of keep giving them something to want to stay on for and kind of keep their engagement. That's really cool advice. I hope everyone's taking notes with that. And what technology or outside sources did you use to help you transition to the hybrid event space?
Multiple companies, I believe, but again, you guys, Event Titans, were the key player. We were able to supply our feed to Event Titans platform, and that was key because I think a lot of people, a lot of planners, sometimes they mess up going like, oh, we'll just use Zoom, or we'll just use Vimeo. And yeah, are those key factors in your conferences on the virtual aspect? Yes, but it's a completely different ball game compared to, hey, just connect to this link here. So I think, yeah, there was multiple companies involved, but you guys were the key players supplying the feed to you guys. You were able to show that live stream to only our virtual ticket buyers, which was very important to us. And when I say that, I mean, look, you have an event where you're in person and you have your virtual attendees. You don't want your in-person ticket buyer to have access to the live stream, right? Because if they do, they can share it with anybody. And technically, the one ticket you bought for that person, I buy that one ticket. Well, now I can share that. Now 30 people can use my link to watch it. And that's, yeah, I mean, technically, is it an immediate loss? You may see no, but it's also a loss of profit. So for me, that was a huge factor, having that ability to only have virtual ticket buyers have access to the virtual stream. And you guys made that possible, which is key. The ability for not multiple people to log in and see that stream was also key. So, you guys had the best technology, and you guys were also able to adapt to what we needed and custom create what we needed in the moments for our events. So I think that custom creation is very key. And without having Event Titans to do that, I don't think it would have been as smooth of a transition, I guess you could say.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think another key part, back to what you were saying earlier, with just people wanting to use Zoom or Vimeo, I think the biggest thing is looking for a platform that will integrate companies like that into their platform. So it's not just the video chat, but you get so much more with it. It's kind of adding on to it almost. So yeah,
I agree. Exactly. Yeah, I think going the Vimeo route and is kind of like the cheaper element of it. And you can't. It's comparing apples to oranges. Honestly, it's not even apples to oranges. It's like apples to watermelons. You're not the same scale. You check into Event Titans, and there's the whole check-in desk. There's a whole element of being at a conference where somebody's just clicking a link and boom, there's the conference. Yeah, there's no engagement. There's no real tracking or analytics behind it, where you guys are able to give us all those analytics. I need those analytics.
Make it right? An in-person event experience from your own home, basically. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that was a key factor for that aspect of it, for sure.
Definitely. And then, since you did use Event Titans, how did we help take care of the virtual side for you from your perspective and help monetize that virtual side for you?
So I'm more of a future investment type of person. And when I look at virtual, I don't see the immediate benefit, right? I see the long-term monetizing of it, right? Because in my best vision is, you see a teaser to a movie, right? And either you want to go to the movie theater and see it, or you wait till it gets released and you watch it at home. Virtual to me is that, right? Virtual to me is my potential in-person attendees. Virtual will need to be there no matter what. It's like you're marketing in that moment. Like, let me show you how amazing it is to be in person. But the only way you can show how amazing it is if you have a reliable platform such as you guys to show how amazing it is. Because if the feed is iffy or shaky in any sort of way, they're not going to get that wow experience of, wow, next time I really want to be there. I really need to be there next time. Because regardless of what people say, virtual and in-person are very different. You know, event planners know you're stimulating the five senses when you walk into an event. When you're virtual, you're only stimulating two. But if you successfully stimulate those two on a virtual platform, all five will want to be triggered at the in-person event. So I think I see virtual as a future huge monetary value. If you don't do it, you're missing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue. Every person that watches virtually is a huge financial gain for you in your future. It might not be in that moment, but future wise, it's your future paycheck and you need it. You know, you can't just expect that the same people are going to keep coming back. So that's my thought on that. And it did work because, you know, we've done 2 events with you guys where we had the virtual event and our numbers were small on our first virtual. And the second one, they like times 10 went up. Our virtual numbers went times 10, you know? So you kind of see that transition of, okay, we saw these people virtually and then they came to the event. And then the next round of virtual was huge, but we also saw that big transition at in-person too, where there was a lot of people in person. So it's kind of like a step ladder. You keep moving on up and you keep adding virtual, and those virtual eventually turn into in-person.
That's a good point, because with virtual, sometimes attendees won't want to spend the money to go attend in person. They just want a little taste of what you offer. They can use that virtual side, and then if they're interested, they can go to the in-person. That's a really good point.
Absolutely. And, you know, in-person events are obviously more expensive. You're paying for the food. Exactly. A lot of times for me, you know, we're doing massive arenas where it's 10, 15,000 people. You know, you have to pay for arena food. That's not cheap. You know, you have to pay for the flights, the hotels. And some of these people, they don't want to just jump in bed with that. They're like, look, that's an extra $1,000. I'll spend the 100, see if it's good enough. And if it is, I'll definitely go to the next one. But you really got to give them a taste of the medicine in the virtual element, especially because people are looking at their financials so differently now than they ever did prior to COVID.
And it's a great way to attract new attendees that maybe you've never had any contact with before, because they do have that little taste, like you were saying, a teaser. So it really is perfect. It can be an end all. You can do all your events and they might want to always attend it virtually, or you can use it as a transition piece. So that is a really cool point to make. Again, everyone, please continue taking your notes. Some good stuff. And now, how do you track your virtual attendee and engagement? Now, I know we do that a lot with Event Titans. And how do you use that information on your end to keep track of that?
Well, when it comes to you, I mean, we keep all the virtual information through you guys. You guys are our end all be all connection with our virtual attendees. We have utilized that information, that data collection, in our best benefit for future events. It's great because, just like I was saying before, you're able to see if what you supplied them virtually was good enough to get them at the next in-person event. And the best part about it is, you know, we see some of these repeat buyers with our events. You know, you guys already know about them because you see the same username and login being used, right? So now it's kind of nice to be able to see, okay, you know, Lynn was a virtual attendee last year and now she's in person. And now we have another event coming in. Let's see, does she go back to virtual or does she go back to in person? And if she is going back to virtual, why? Is it because of, you know, a factor we're unaware of, or is it something that we did wrong at the event? You know, so it's great for your own ability to do your own in-house market evaluation, see what you're doing right and wrong. And it's a key factor to figure out what's going right with your event and how you can make it better. Because I think a lot of people have that issue with seeing, how do we collect the proper data? How do we see the path that our attendees are going? And with this, you have all the data collection. You have when they check in, if they're in person or, you know, virtual. And I think the virtual element is key to see that, why people are going from virtual to in-person or in-person to virtual.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. And I'm sad to say our time is almost coming to an end. This conversation has gone by so fast. Are there any last remarks that you'd like to leave with our audience today?
Yes. You know, I love Event Titans. I will say it's been, you know, we had our own ups and downs. We had a lot of things we had to figure out together, and through it all, I think everybody should understand that my personal opinion is I've always been a woman of investment and growth and growing together with people. I think Event Titans does a great job at molding to your needs as you need things to fit your clients' expectations or fit your own. Like when I have my own events and I want it this way. This is the way I want it done. And Event Times does a good job of, okay, how can we make it work for you and your events, even though that's not how we do things. And I think what a lot of people miss out on is they're like, oh, but Eventbrite. And I think that's pardon me, but I think it's the dumbest thing to say. You're again comparing apples to watermelons. Event Titans does so much more and is willing to adjust to you as a person, where Eventbrite looks as a cookie cutter, right? It's a cookie cutter, flat out. And for me, I've really appreciated working with Event Titans and having you guys willing to adapt to my needs, my clients' needs. It's amazing. And not many companies do that. So I would highly recommend people taking the dive if they have not taken it with you guys.
Yes. Well, thank you, Brooke. We have had such an honor working with you, of course. And thank you again for attending this session and sharing some great info. And I guess that will conclude our session. Thank you again.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Bye. All right, we will now transition into Shiva taking the stage again and giving some final remarks. And after this, we will